Hello, welcome back to the Literature Science Alliance. My name's Ryan, and I'm here to talk about a book. I don't know if this is a bonus video or not. I don't know what the schedule for uploads are. I just work here. So today I'm gonna be talking about A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. This is a horror book about an exorcism. And you may be wondering, Ryan, why are you talking about horror books in November? Because November is when Thanksgiving happens, and what's scarier than spending time with your family? I also just kind of forgot to get around to this in October. So A Head Full of Ghosts is, like I said before, it's an exorcism book. It centers around this family called the Barretts. They live in Beverly, Massachusetts, which, points to Tremblay for having a horror story set in Massachusetts that isn't in Salem. The Barrett family consists of mom and dad. I don't even think they get names in it. Older sister Marjorie, younger sister Mary. So what happens is Marjorie becomes possessed, and the family has the bright idea of signing up for a reality show during the possession. So the book is told from the perspective of Marjorie in present day, so in this book came out in 2015, so present day being 2015, which not that matters too much, but it then goes back to the year 2000 when Mary's 8 and the reality show is happening. And also, because there's this reality show aspect, the book also has the point of view from a blogger who is reviewing the reality show of the exorcism. So I really like that little wrinkle on a horror story. As someone who doesn't consume a whole lot of horror, I really do like those few stories that I do let myself indulge in, where they have that extra element of fourth wall breaking, but also just being very unafraid to add commentary to a horror story. The book opens with Mary talking to a nonfiction author, and so the whole drive to the way this story is told is that this nonfiction author tracked down Mary years after Possessed. The reality show is called Possessed. So years after Possessed airs, this nonfiction author tracks down Mary and wants to interview her to get more from this person who lived through this reality TV event, this televised horror story. You get the actual events in flashback sequences, essentially. I think it works in a very good layer of how we consume both reality television and how we consume horror stories, because to this author's credit, he kind of puts all of his cards on the table right away with this blogger, where basically Mary tells her perspective in one of the chapters, and then immediately you get the blogger's perspective trying to debunk every single thing and calling out horror cliches and things like that. So if you ever seen the movie Scream, I kind of got that impression a little bit, where that movie is on its own, it stands as a fun slasher flick, but it also, very blatantly, is blinking at that was a horrible blink. It's very purposefully like letting the audience in on the joke, and becoming a satire of the very genre that it's tossing its hat in. And I think this book does the same thing to exorcism stories. This is going to be the spoiler section from here on out, because I can't really talk too much more about this without giving away some big plot moments. So I would recommend this book to, if you like horror, I think this is a great book. If you don't like horror, I think this is a great book too, because I never got scared. I will say, though, that the ending lulled me into a false sense of security, where I was kind of... I wasn't, like I said, it didn't, frighten me, but the ending definitely, made me a little disturbed. If you're looking for a somewhat unconventional... if you're looking for a somewhat unconventional take on a classic trope, I think this is a good one to pick up.
I'm leaving the in.
That's fine. Okay, so now it's spoiler section area. Editor Angela, throw up that wonderful sign. The whole reason why they make the exorcism into a reality show is because Mary's father loses his job, so they're struggling really hard for money, and basically her dad, who is a devout Christian, went to a priest for help, and they both, her dad and the priest, devised this plan to basically monetize Marjorie's illness. And this book does a really great job of making you question whether or not Marjorie is actually sick. Specifically, the blogger's whole thing is like determining whether or not that Marjorie's actually sick. And the great thing is, like, halfway through the book, it's revealed that the blogger is actually Mary. She's basically like poking holes in every single bit about this thing that she lived through. So I thought that was a really smart take on just, the way we kind of overanalyze every little thing when we're consuming media. I thought that was a really fun revelation. The way this book ends is that Marjorie basically tricks Mary into poisoning her entire family, except for Mary. So her entire family dies at the end, and that was just like that took me back. That took me aback when I read that. I was just like, holy shit. So my theory about this is Marjorie wasn't actually possessed. I think Mary was the one that was actually possessed throughout the whole story, because every single time Marjorie and Mary interacted, Marjorie started off fine and then progressively got worse and worse. And her father gets worse and worse over the course of the story. And her mother, they each have personality traits that get worsened over the course of the reality show. Like, Marjorie's mom becomes a hard drinker. Marjorie's dad, like, gets really violent and starts fighting people. And then Marjorie herself is acting like she's faking it, but, like, is doing things that, are pretty run-of-the-mill demon possession antics. And I think Mary is actually being possessed by the demon, and that being around that possession is what's causing her family to go crazy. And I think the book hints towards that, because the actual exorcism has like the common trope of, oh, this room's getting so cold during the exorcism. And then at the end of the book, she's in the coffee shop with Mary's in the coffee shop in present day with the nonfiction author, and all of a sudden the coffee shop gets extremely cold while she's recounting the story of how she accidentally poisoned her family. So I thought that was a really fun, well, fun's the wrong word, but I thought that was a really entertaining little trail of breadcrumbs that this author set up. If you've read this book, let me know if you have a different theory on it. But also the fact that I'm encouraging continued conversation about this book is the exact sort of thing that Tremblay was also critiquing with the blogger. So maybe don't interact with me on this. I don't know what this author wants of me, but I liked your book.
Also, write spoiler if you're going to talk spoilers before commenting.
Yeah, do that. Do what Angela's ghost said. Like, comment, and subscribe.